So, welcome back. Today is early release, so you can see we get out of here at 10:45, and you leave school at 2 o'clock. Okay. So we're using our notes from yesterday to do these warm-ups, which will help you with your assignment 1.5 today. So it's kind of a lot of warm-up. It's because I want to show you each type of problem you will see on your assignment, so it will help you out. Make sure you're always writing down the objective, the blue sentence, and then notice we have a test Friday over intro to functions. In Skyward, again, if you see a 1, that means it's missing. You can always turn it in. Everything you need is in that blue band and on Google Classroom. Now, number 1, we want to find the inverse of this function. So what we need to do is the 4 steps from our notes yesterday. Bless you. What was our first step on the notes yesterday? Look at your notes. You can't shrug with no notes on your desk. What are your notes? Okay, step 1 was you turn f of x into the letter y. Okay, so everybody, you got this written down? Underneath it, if you haven't already, you're going to write, instead of f of x, you're going to put y equals 4x minus 5. Okay? Now, step 2, what do I do with x and y? Switch them. Okay, that's the big step when it comes to inverses. You switch x and y. Okay? If you're on a phone, put the phone away. So I'm going to switch x and y. So y now becomes x equals 4, and x becomes y. Okay? So again, f of x turned into a y, x and y switch places. Third step is to simplify and solve for y. So if I'm solving for y, what do I need to get rid of first on this right-hand side? The loner, the minus 5, has to go first, okay? How do I get rid of a minus 5? The opposite is plus 5, so I do that on both sides. So plus 5 here, plus 5 here. The 5s cancel out. This is not a trick question. What is x plus 5? X plus 5, okay? When you're adding a variable and a number, they do not combine. So it's not 5x. Definitely not 5x. Okay? So again, x plus 5, you're going to write x plus 5. That equals 4y. Now my last step on this part of it, how do I get rid of that 4 in front of y? How do I get rid of the 4? That's the question. What did you say? Divide, okay? So if you have a coefficient in front of a variable, 4 in front of the y, you divide by 4 to get rid of that 4. So divide by 4. And then you're going to divide the whole left side by 4. Big old fraction looking thing. Scratch those 4s out. Now I'm showing you this because you're going to have to do this on your own on your assignment, yeah? So is everyone getting the steps? This turns into y, switch x and y, solve for y. Your last step is you're going to write it in inverse function notation. Looks like this. F with a little -1, x, f inverse x, equals x plus 5 over 4. A big old fraction. Okay? Now you can write it as that big old fraction, or you could divide each part by 4. So x over 4, which is 1/4 x, plus 5 over 4, which is a fraction, 5 over 4, or a decimal. Okay? But leaving it like that is fine for me. One big old fraction. Now, you'll notice on your assignment, you got to not only give me the equation, but then it's got a little table for you. Now, do y'all know how to turn a equation into a table on your calculator? Now, I think you should have done it before. So if you don't already have a yellow calculator, make sure you get a yellow calculator, please. Does anyone else not have a yellow calculator? You need a yellow calculator. You got one? Oh, okay. Right there. Yeah. You know, every day, what to grab. Okay. Now, real quick, I'm going to show you on here. Go ahead and press the on button. All right. After this, or an emergency? Okay. Sorry. So, go ahead and go to graph. Okay, go ahead and do a new document and graph. So check it out. New document, number 1, don't save. And you can graph. It's the second option, okay? Hit graph. And then if you put this original function, which is 4x minus 5, and you hit enter, it'll graph it for you. And then what buttons do you press for a table? Done. Yeah, type it at the top, 4x minus 5, hit enter. Okay, this is Algebra 1 stuff, maybe algebraic reasoning stuff. Do y'all remember what to press for a table? Control T. So, once you press Control T, it'll give you the table. So I'm telling you, on your assignment, when you have to get a table, it's going to give you the X values. You find them on the left, you tell me what's on the right, the Y value, okay? All right, and then could you graph those points, the original and the inverse, okay? Here's number 2, same idea. Now, y'all like writing less than you have to? Okay, yes. So we're gonna smash step 1 and step 2 into one step, okay? So instead of having to rewrite this with a Y and then switch them, why don't we just, in our mind, think this is Y and then switch them? Like, our first step, just switch them. Sound good? Save us some writing? Okay, so again, pretend that's a Y and switch places with X and Y. Let's rewrite number 2. So this f of X turns into just X equals, and then that X turns into a Y. Y squared plus 3. Okay. Y'all see how I saved us a little bit of writing? Hopefully. Switch. Okay. Now, we got to solve this, right? Hey, tell them you're solving it. Now, if I'm solving for Y, what do I do first? That loner 3's got to go. What's the opposite of plus 3? Minus 3. So on both sides, minus 3, minus 3. Not a trick question. What is X minus 3? 3. Okay. X minus 3 is X minus 3. Remember? They don't combine. X minus 3 equals Y squared. And this was on our PowerPoint yesterday, but the inverse of square, what's the opposite of squaring? Square root. Okay? Square and the square root little house thing are opposites. So to get Y by itself, I'm going to square root both sides. So it's going to look like this. Is everyone watching? Square root the entire left side, square root the entire right side. On the right, the square root and the square cancel out. Goodbye. And then I can write my final function in inverse function notation. So f with a little -1, x equals square root x minus 3. Please remember that whole thing is under the square root. So it's, make sure the square root sign goes over the x minus 3 all the way. Okay. I'm showing you this because on your assignment, you have some square root problems. This is how you do it. Very, very, very similar, okay? So can you switch X and Y, get rid of the loner, square root both sides, write it like an inverse, okay? And you can also put the original function into graph, hit Control T to get your table of values, right? And everybody knows table, when you switch it around, that's the inverse. Flip it around, okay? And then plot the points. One more real quick. Do you see how 3 is different than 2 because it has some parentheses? So I'm going to show you how to do that one. Here we go. And if you're doing something else like sleeping or I don't even know what. Focus. Focus. Okay? First step, once again, I'm going to combine step 1 and 2. I'm going to pretend that f of x is a y, and then I'm going to switch x and y. So it's going to look like this. x equals y plus 2 squared minus 2. Now, that right side has a lot of 2's, right? There's a plus 2 squared and a minus 2. But the question is, which 2 do I get rid of? What do y'all think? Okay, the loner outside the parentheses has to go first, okay? So, this minus 2 has to go first because it's outside, okay? What's the opposite of minus 2? Plus 2 on both sides, okay? So put a plus 2, plus 2. Again, not a trick question. What's x plus 2? X plus 2, right? So write it down. X plus 2 equals y plus 2 in parentheses squared. Now, this is wild. What do I get rid of first? This 2 or the squared? What do you think? The squared. Okay, so you can't get into that parentheses until you get rid of the squared. Okay, how do I get rid of the square again? Square root both sides. It's going to look like this. Are you watching? Here's how you do it. Square root the left, square root the entire right. Okay. Once again, square root and square cancel out. Give them a little scratch on the back. Now, I'm going to rewrite this. Square root of x plus 2 equals y plus 2. Last step. Get rid of that plus 2, right? What's the opposite of that plus 2? Minus 2. Okay. Now, hit the brakes. Now, this minus 2 is not going to mess with this plus 2 under the square root sign. Okay. This is like inside of something. This minus 2 is going to go after it. And that's the weirdest part about this, okay? These can't actually do anything, kind of like the x minus 2 is x minus 2. Okay, so here's how you're going to write it. Ready? Final form. F inverse x equals square root of x plus 2. That stays the same. And you put that minus 2 after it, okay? Just like this. So the x plus 2 is under the square root. The minus 2 is after the square root. I show you this because you have one like this on your assignment for today, right? So again, can you take these equations, graph them, Control T, get a table, plot the points, flip them around, plot those points, bam. Okay, so I know it's kind of a lot, but you can do it, and I believe in you. So we get out of here at 45. You got a good old 15-ish minutes to give it a shot, okay? So go and get started.